The best pods are impromptu pods. I haven't done a professional impromptu pod ever. Sometimes I've had to do it because I'm the only one, but like an impromptu one was in 2021. On my work break, I snuck out to my car to talk about Cam Newton into my notes app for like 15 minutes. But anyway, guys, it's a lot different now when you have someone who reports on the team for a living. And that's what I got today with Sophie Weller, as her and I break down the news that, you know what, Mike Vrabel, 16th head coach in New England Patriots history.
Yeah, they got their guy.
They did. I know there's a lot of people out there that are upset about Ben Johnson, but I'll be honest with you, more than the name and what he's accomplished before, for me, it's the culture setting and building. And also a pet peeve of mine that I know must be a pet peeve of yours too. Someone who knows how to properly talk to reporters before, during, after a game, and during the week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of it. Listen, I get the Ben Johnson hype, and I was right there. I would have been fine had they hired him. My thing with Ben Johnson is I think you're dealing with it's a higher risk for potentially high reward.
Yeah.
It's a guy who's never been a head coach before. And listen, if this was your first interview after Bill and this is what you were looking at, then I would say things might be completely different. But you just went through the entire season where clearly a guy who's never been a head coach before, who's only been really an assistant, like all these things didn't work out for you. Are you really going to yes, it's a very different situation with Ben Johnson. I'm not saying he and Gerard Mayo are in the exact same situation going in, but you needed someone after what happened who has been a head coach before. You needed experience at that level to do what they needed to do, who you know can set a culture that is needed in New England right now, because that was a lot of what's missing. You need leadership. You need a guy who can be a player's coach, but can also be a coach.
Yes, the one thing that I always like to say with my professional life and just overall work life, I always wanted someone who, you can be friends with, but when it's time to buckle down and, get stuff done, buckle down and get stuff done. We thought Gerard was going to be that kind of guy, and then I know everyone too is saying everything along like certain lines of just, oh, he did this or oh, he did that, or the story of the playing cards of the guys after the flight from the loss with Houston, Arizona. Sorry, the loss is all kind of piled up. My whole thing is just the fact that you're going to hold people accountable, and then he's going to bring in the right people, and just a general sense of, hey, it's not a smooth path, but we at least now know, like, hey, we're not saying they're going to come out there and win 10, 11 games next year. No, if they get to, 6, 7, 8, or even 9, just keep building it up and up and up and up.
You need a rebuild. Listen, they brought Gerard in for a rebuild, and I think that the issue is that, and listen, I do think it was unfair. Gerard was put in a situation where it was a lose-lose for him. I do feel horrible for him in that sense. But I do think that in the end, the Crafts did make the right choice. I think Gerard is going to be a great head coach one day, but he wasn't ready.
Yeah, that's it. He wasn't ready. It was just kind of like, oh, hey, I'm ready to do this. And then it's literally that meme where it's like, oh, I've become more important in my job, but I'm not ready to become more important. It's kind of like we saw the same. And also this year too, like, look, the one guy who I still want to give flowers to is AVP, Alex Van Pelt, because
you're going to get to that. I'm so ready.
But here's the thing with him, because he week in and week out, we saw Drake get better. We saw, look, a perfect example, because I haven't talked to you since, is the Bills game, the first one, not the Joe Milton game, which and also I want to say this quickly about Milton too. It's amazing to know that if Drake ever goes down, Joe Milton's the kind of guy, I don't know if he's going to win you a lot of games, but at least you know what, you can count on him to make a couple of exciting plays a game and be consistent.
On the AVP talk, though, if you want to talk about anyone that showed AVP deserves that job, that was Joe Milton in that final game.
Yeah, that's just it, though, because, like, look, hey, and I know there's everyone out there saying, oh, you go out losing. It's kind of like what Lovie Smith did with Houston. No, these guys wanted to go out there and win. It's like the Giants. It's the same thing. They don't want to go out there and lose week in and week out. This is a band of brothers that, look, was this year pretty? No, it did result in 2 All-Pros, which we'll delve more into that, which, guys, full squad goals is Thursday. That's an announcement I'm making right now. All 3 of us are going to be here Thursday. I know I had one on Wednesday. I have you tonight. All 3 of us will be here on Thursday.
Wednesday wasn't my fault. I was sick last Wednesday. I got a valid pass on that one.
You get a valid pass now. He gets a valid bedtime pass now, dealing with 2 of the newborn and toddler. But no, with Alex Van Pelt, though, it's just like I said, the fact that continually that, and even the fact too of the whole throwing under the bus with the Cardinals game, where I'm like, Drake did nothing wrong in the Cardinals game. Even I look at minus the Charger game, you really can't pinpoint a game from the month of December onward where Drake was terrible. Like the Colts game, he did all he could to win. The defense couldn't hang on. The Cardinals game, same thing. Offense just never got going. When they got going, it was too little, too late. Bills game, it was just, hey, more than it would have been great to have won that game. But you know what? The fact that they hung in there, and like I know Bills people that were pissed off at that game because they're like, what's going on, guys? We should be blowing them out.
Yeah.
And we had them on the ropes. And then the Charger game, look, we don't know what happened. The Chargers just got I wish we had seen the Chargers team 2 weeks ago. We saw yesterday. That would have been fantastic. But it's just that doesn't happen. But it continually shows that, like, look, hey, Alex Van Pelt is made guys work. He made them best out of a bad situation. And now it's all about, who's going to be brought in. Offensive side of the ball, I'll say this right now. There's one guy I'm really intrigued by. That's a name I don't think is getting thrown around enough. And he's a former Patriot, and Wes Welker just got let go by Miami.
I would love to, I don't think he's ready to be like an OC or anything like that, but I would love to see him brought in. I'd love to see him brought in as like to work like with the wide receivers, or we've had success. New England's had success with bringing in some former players as positional coaches and even a head coach. Let's see what happens now. First one didn't go as great, but maybe the second one.
Like, the one thing I wonder with that too is, like, when I say Wes Welker, I'm not saying OC or anything. I think offensive coordinator is going to be either Josh McDaniels or Tommy Rees. I think it's going to be one of those two guys. Defensive coordinator is interesting because it seems like the guy from the Giants, I believe it's Shane Brewer, I think it is. It seems like the Giants don't want him out the building. They want to keep him. They want to retain him. So, which for the Giants, it's important right now, considering, look, they're in a shit or get off the pot kind of season going into 2025. Meanwhile, with New England, it's kind of, hey, mess around and see what happens. Another thing with this team, I want to point out, their schedule's not as hard as last year. Last year,
they got a hard schedule this season. Like, as much as this wasn't a great year and there were, it was the right call. They were playing multiple Super Bowl contenders or playoff contenders, things like that. That did have to be taken into account. But before we go into that, I want to talk about AVP real quickly.
Yes, of course. You do that.
Because a little while ago, it was right before Gerard got fired, prior to that final game, I wrote a full column on why they should not let AVP leave that building. And one of the reasons was Drake, of course. Drake loves working with AVP. Anytime you've talked, and not just Drake, every player has, yes, they've come to Gerard's defense a lot, but Alex Van Pelt, it felt different when the players were talking about him. They really like what he brought to the table, what he stood for in those meetings, how he taught. He was a hard coach, but he did what he needed to do, and he also, but he cared just the same. And I love that. Then you look at this Joe Milton game. There was a reason the Patriots got Joe Milton in the 6th round, despite his arm talent. There was a reason why no one else was like, oh, do we take a chance on this quarterback? A lot of people didn't think that he could develop the way that they, would need an NFL quarterback. And AVP looked at all those people and said, get me that guy, and turned him into a damn good quarterback that can compete at an NFL level. Yes, it was the Bills' backup, whatever you say, but Joe Milton went out there and balled out. You cannot deny that fact at all. And I give a lot of credit to Joe Milton. He was ear to ear. I even went up to him in the locker room after. I was like, that was awesome. I'm so happy for you, because he deserved it. He's been sitting and watch on the sidelines all season watching, and he got his time to shine. He did. But you got to give credit to AVP for getting him ready. I mean, it was his footwork. That's what they talked about, I think, the most with him, was like his footwork was a little dicey coming in. You couldn't really see that in that that win over the Bills. Like, he went out there and he won the game for the team.
And go on.
No, and I'm just going to say, and I think that's a testament to Alex Van Pelt and how he can develop a quarterback, which is what you need right now. Your entire offensive focus is Drake May.
Yeah, that's it. You do what's going to make number 10 happy. Obviously, look, I, like a lot of other Patriot fans, don't want offense at number 4. There's a certain defensive end that I will be clamoring for at number 4.
Carter, you are a Patriot.
Yes. Okay, I'm glad you and I are on the same. I feel like the three of us, just all through the draft process, that's all we're going to be talking about is get Abdul Carter to Foxborough. But but look, that there's just so many weird elements to this. But the one element I really want to speak to is the crafts, because look, I know there was the whole thing about like what's his play calling at the lip reading during the Cardinal game. Everyone saying like, oh, this and this, or like how we knew who he wanted to hire, so he's just going to hire this person. Robert Kraft is an owner I do not take for granted and will never take for granted, because look, the Hall of Fame stuff, whatever you want to think about the dynasty stuff, which kind of really built our squad goals friendship, doing those dynasty episode recaps.
Yeah.
The big thing with all of what Robert Kraft's about, though, he wants to win. It's not just saying like, oh, hey, like we want to do this, this, and this. No, he wants to get this team back to prominence. There's a reason why, look, I applaud him for taking that report card seriously, where it's like, oh, hey, you're getting D's and F's. I'm not expecting this year to be better, but the fact too of, hey, we got to update the stadium. Boom, here's my own money. Hey, we should build a
practice facility for the players because they that's one of the things we don't have. Let's do it.
Even, and it's on facility, but even too, the fact they say it too, it's like, full weight room, full, I think, indoor practice facilities, hot tubs, saunas, cold plunges, like everything like that. The fact too is that I don't want to ever hear anyone say, oh, he's bad at this. No, he cares, and he knows, because basically he knows now too, hey, I can't get people here on the promise of number 12 and Bill. But you know what? If we build this culture and we're building these facilities, you can, entice those free agents that in years past went, no, I don't want to come here, state tax. We chose a Tennessee over you because of the state tax issue, which, look, I think the tax thing, there is merit to it in the sport. I'd take it with hockey because, look, with hockey, the players don't make that much money.
Yeah.
Football, they're making money. So that's where it's a little different to me.
Yeah.
But no, it's just the fact that he cares and the fact that he's trying to show, hey, this is what I want to accomplish and this is what I want to do. Like, look, we all know 2025, we're not aiming for playoffs, but I'll say this right now, how I was saying with the schedule. Having Bengals, Chargers, and Bears as your fourth place going into the year was very threatening, and just very, even though they won 2 of those 3, was whatever. The fact now that goes to the Titans, the Raiders, and the Giants.
Yeah.
And they're playing the NFC South.
Yeah. No, it's a much better schedule considering what they're coming off of. The other thing I will say to give Kraft credit, listen, he saw that the situation wasn't working out. He handpicked Gerard Mayo.
Yep.
I think there are not many owners in the NFL that would have looked at him after one season. I can think of a few who won't even do it now with their coaches that probably should be let go, and they should bring in a new kind of thing to see what happens. Gerard looked at this after one season and said, I just don't see how this can go up from here with what I'm being told, what's being said. And he fired Gerard Mayo after one season. This is the guy he handpicked.
Do you think it was before or after he spoke to you guys, though, on last Sunday?
That Gerard was let go?
Yeah.
Well,
you do the guess, because it just, like, his body language and demeanor really showed that, like, he was on his way out.
I think that Gerard was told after, because all the way he talked about was like, I don't think a coach like that would have been like, well, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning, and like things like that had he been let go. I do think that Gerard was let go after he spoke with the reporters following the game.
Eberflusian, might I add.
Yes.
No, one thing
it's hard to have, and the other thing I will say is, I don't know if the information was leaked or if they wanted to release it the next day, like, because like do like a Black Friday or Monday, or Black Monday firing, whatever it was. But I do almost feel a little bit bad for the Patriots players.
Yeah.
I'm going to work their butt off in that game to get a win like that. As much as no one wanted them to get the win, listen, there were plenty of, us that wanted the number 1 overall pick. But in the end, you have to understand that these guys competing is their whole life. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't want to compete. And so to go out there and get a win after such a hard season. And these were also guys playing who are not starters. It's the Joe Miltons. Cornerback Miles Battle. That's a name that, like, we don't even know. He had a pretty good day. I saw him making some solid coverage. Like names like that you don't hear, though. And you're like, okay.
McGarvin and I on Wednesday literally looked at each other. We had to be like, okay, who are you? We literally looked at each other and we're just like I don't even know who you are. Like, because like him and I say it's obviously like you cover the team for a living. With him and I, we follow this team pretty much 365. Yeah. Like we're tapped in.
You're right there up with me. I will give you full
Yeah, but the fact that like we don't know who this person is just showing like how low on the depth chart they were going for guys. But the fact too that like this game reminded me so much of the Jet 2020 game where it was just like I wanted to see this all year because it kind of seemed like, hey, last day of school, last game for 8 months. Let's just go out there and have fun. And we know because we know too at the end of the day, the 53 that were on the field Sunday or even throughout the year aren't going to be the same that are going to be there come September. Hell, even come March or April when the people report back for OTAs. Right.
Yeah.
I was finding it convenient they do it right before the draft, but that's just me. But going back to Kraft, though, I will say this. I love that he took accountability. He said, you know what? Hey, guys, I screwed up. It's on me. We're going to move past this and just go forward. Because, like, look, I know you were, like, right there. And also the one thing him and I joked about as well is we'll watch press conferences and then we see, like, your head or, like, the little thing. And we're like, wait, is that who I think it is? And it's like, there she is. But as Baker's trucking right now. But as you know, he took a fact, he took accountability, and it's going to be interesting tomorrow too to see how much, because you know how Kraft was right there when Mayo was introduced. It's going to be interesting tomorrow to see how well Vrabel's going to be introduced. So that's what Thursday's going to focus on more. Is just that over, like it's all funny. Like literally a year ago, the three of us first ever pod we did was focused on that, and now fast forward to Thursday, pretty much a year later, we're doing the exact same show.
Exactly. Well, I'll be there tomorrow, so I can let you know what happens too.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, guys, like you see, if you're not watching on YouTube, 2 E's, 2 R's to Sophie Weller. Follow her. Go there. She's also on Blue Sky as well. I got Blue Sky to talk to McGarvin. I think that only 3 people I follow on Blue Sky is you, Kyrie, and McGarvin. And there's one other person, but just literally the people where I'm like, hey, the people I know, because like Blue Sky's more of like just a dealing network for me. But because I see, like, I'll go on and I'll be like, you just tweeted this. Now you posted this on Blue Sky. I'm like, do you just
post on both? I make sure I always post on both because I know some people left Twitter.
Yes.
Want to make sure.
But before we wrap up, because we don't want to keep this too long, and also kind of a good appetizer considering look, football's not really been exciting today. What's the big thing you're looking for from what is the big thing you are looking for, not forward to, from Mike Vrabel?
I mean, tomorrow I'm just kind of, I don't know if it's like, I just want to hear his plans. Really, it's like I want to hear a clear plan for the Patriots. Because I think that was what was missing. I mean, the plan can't just be we're gonna get better. No, that's been said since even with Bill. Oh, we're gonna get better. No, something's not working. You need a clear plan. Then what's going to be really interesting is the staff he builds around him. That I'm very, very excited to kind of see play out. Obviously, Josh McDaniels is high on that list for offensive coordinator. Would not, I was talking about Alex Van Pelt, and as much as I think like getting rid of him as an offensive coordinator, I mean, or this whole piece would be wrong. I kind of meant that under if Gerard had stayed.
Yeah.
Using Alex Van Pelt as a scapegoat was the wrong decision. Now you're looking at a completely new coaching staff. Like I said, if you can keep AVP in that building, like I don't know if he'll go for it, because if he's not offensive coordinator, it's obviously demotion. But like if you can keep him in that building, I would do it in any way you could.
Yeah, even as like a consultant or like a quarterback coach kind of role where he like exclusively works with Drake. And that, because if you have that, then like I know we were talking about Wes Welker earlier, but I look at him or Chad O'Shea as more, pass game coordinator, wide receiver coach. Yeah. My big thing is just defensive coordinator, because we saw Lou Anarumo be the scapegoat in Cincinnati last week. Is he brought in? Is it Patrick Graham? Is there someone else we're really not keeping tabs on right now to run the defense? Because I know everyone's focused on the offense, but
the defense was bad this year. No, I think that the offense was such a like AVP was a scapegoat, and not enough attention was brought to DeMarcus Covington and his defense, because yes, there were injuries, whatever, but I can also point to like injuries that this team's had years back too. I mean, they lost, Bills last year. They lost Judon, and that we're not talking about the defense the same way. They were they kept him in games. That Mac Jones's final year, Bill's final year. This year, this defense couldn't stop the run. The pass game, besides Christian Gonzalez, they were running all over them. The only guy who could cover anyone was, until a little later. I will give Jonathan Jones his credit. He came in and he stepped up in those final few games. But when you change safety so many times with everything going on, cornerbacks, like, I think Marcus Jones is an incredible specialist.
Yeah.
You can't put him up against these, like 6 foot something wide receivers in the NFL and expect him to come away with the ball every time.
You can't. But I'll say this, though. Jonathan Jones is the guy you bring back on a cheap contract because he's an experienced vet in that room. And also the fact he's
Yes.
leading the yeah chance is a little something that Patriot fans pay more attention to. But
No,
for
I'm a
me,
big. I think that they should definitely keep him. Jonathan Jones was great for the team this year. He actually won the Media Good Guy Award because
yes.
he took account, not for just for himself, but he was willing to speak every week about what was going on. It was the year prior, it was David Andrews. Like, these are guys that just come out and speak to the media when it's hard. People don't want to talk to us after a bad loss. I can't blame them.
I,
Who wants to answer questions about, like, why did you play that way today, or why, but
you were bad. Tell us why. Believe me,
yeah,
I've been in there too. It's not like, look, obviously it's to different levels, but it's not fun no matter the level of football you're covering. The other thing I want to look forward to, there are two coaches on the defensive side of the defensive/special team side of the ball that I'm curious about, and that's Slater and Hightower.
yeah.
Because
I think they could stay because if you're going to talk about form, I mean, I would be shocked if they let Slater leave that building. You can't let him out. And also, special teams was good this year. I mean, I think you got to consider bringing Jeremy Springer back. You should be
oh
high
my
on that list for special
god.
teams. There's no way I don't think you bring him back.
Yeah, like if you want, like the fact too, like Springer was saying some incredible, like just great quotes, but then also too, as more laundry's getting thrown on the field, um, and the fact too, you got a first team All Pro in special teams. That's got to speak volumes. You can't just go out and be like, "Hey, we're getting a new special teams guy." Like
He
last
is
year when
the
they were,
one coordinator I think like
yeah,
Patriots fans have to be like, bring him, like that is the one right there because getting rid of Jeremy Springer would be a big mistake.
yeah,
They love him on special teams, and he clearly, I mean, that special teams unit was pretty decent throughout the year.
nope. The special teams was like the key cog of this thing. Like you saw game in and game out. Like, look, they were making plays. Brandon Schooler is the gunner. Brandon Schooler getting more action as a DB as well, going back to that Bears game. There's just this whole mix of like, look, special teams, special players, special moments. So you know what? And that's something Jeremy Springer helped create. I can't, because it didn't seem like the Mike Evans touchdown. You can't really, certain elements you can't get rid of, but I think there's going to be shots there. I think because they said the whole coaching staff, but I think that's mainly offensive and defensive. They
Yeah.
haven't said anything about special teams, but just go when you're in there tomorrow. Just go, hi, my podcast friend from Canada, who's a diehard Patriots fan, wants to know, is Jeremy Springer coming back? And a few people in the room are going to go, do you know Griff?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Like I know, because like whenever I see all of them, I'm like, yep, I know you, I know you, I know you, I know you. There's some people I want to talk to get back on the show.
I know Mike Reese had a report this morning in his like Sunday post that was that the Crafts, I believe, gave the assistants like a vacation or something, like told them to kind of go on vacation till we get the head coaching thing situated.
Yeah.
So obviously, because they weren't immediately let go when Gerard was fired. Like Kraft said that it was kind of like status quo for the 4 days they had in office until all these rumors heated up and they were told to go on vacation. But yeah, no, the special teams one is the one I think that everyone's kind of overlooking right now. But just back to Slater, I definitely think I could see Slater staying. I would be really shocked if they don't bring Hightower back. Because I really don't think, just in terms of that position, I don't think that was like the biggest issue on defense. And obviously a former Patriot wants to be a coach. Like, I think that's a guy that you can really develop in New England as a coach just as much as you did as a player. And that's kind of the culture they're building in terms of the coaching staff right now, is they really like these guys who know the Patriots, who are close knit, to stay on. So I do think those are two guys that Slater definitely, if Slater leaves the building, I'm like, what's going on? Unless it was his own choice and he's like, I'm going, spend more time with the family, that's fine. But if they're like, no, I'm going to be like, what?
Yeah, that's the thing too, where it's just like, what, like, okay, why? And I know everyone looks at Vrabel too, where it's like, oh, he was fired, and I'm like, yeah, he was fired, but he was fired because of bad ownership and just a team like they were not on the same page. I think with this one too, I think the last point I'm going to make today, because look, we're going to deep dive more Thursday. Yeah. I think that Kraft's going to have a little bit of a looser leash when it comes to Vrabel because he trusts him and he knows what to do. And the other thing, too, I know as well, if everyone's saying, oh, he's just a Belichick disciple, no, he kind of went out and carved his own path. He's just viewed Bill as a mentor, which I find fantastic. I don't think it's going to be like, the Josh McDaniels approach where it's, I'm going to be Bill Belichick. And it's like, oh, hey, but we really suck. We're not winning football games. So you're not Bill Belichick.
No, I mean, he's proven he can win games in this league. And I think that's what you need.
Must be Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game.
No, exactly. He's a very talented coach, and what I think, what every one of his former teammates and just all these guys have been saying is that, like, he's tough. He will give you that tough love. He will sit there and he will not, coddle you in any way. That being said, he can also be there for you and hype you up in the perfect way to get you ready to go for games. Like, he has that balance in him. And I think that's what was missing this year, is there was too much of the, like, I'm on your side mentality and not enough of the, like, come on, I'm your coach. Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what they needed. That's why this, as much as, again, I would have been fine with Ben Johnson, but I do think this whole time I was definitely leaning more towards Vrabel for that exact reason. They needed experience, and they needed a guy who could give them the tough love when they needed it.
The only reason I knew it was going to be Vrabel was when Aaron Glenn declined the interview. I think that's
I mean, we all knew that at that point it was. I think I knew when they knew when Vrabel took the interview with the Jets. That must have scared them, because this all happened really quick, and I did not expect it to happen so quick. I think they might have known he wasn't taking the Jets job, but him just interviewing with their division rival was a lot to handle. At that moment. But yeah, I mean, everyone knew Vrabel was the front runner. This is coming as no surprise to anyone right now that he was hired.
None at all. None at all.
I think had Ben Johnson maybe not been in the playoffs, this could have been a bit of a longer process.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I will say, is that I think that part of the reason that Ben Johnson, if anyone's going to say, like, wasn't given his fair chance, because all these reporters are saying he did impress in his interview, but the Patriots didn't want to wait. They want a coach in there now, making decisions and getting this team back to where they want it to be, which I can understand. They don't want to wait around. They have, there's a lot to do this offseason, and they need to get started as soon as they can.
That's it, because it goes from just, hey, we got to introduce our coach, now we got to finalize the staff, to guess what? Because this is a beautiful, the ugly but beautiful thing about the NFL offseason, that for as long as it is, you go right from the offseason, you go right into the combine. From the combine, you go right into free agency. From free agency, you go right into the draft. Everyone's like, oh, what about the draft? You mainly focus on free agency from the time the combine ends to about St. Patrick's Day, a little bit after that. And then once all that's done, you know what? You just shoot right in to the draft. And we're going to be in Green Bay in about 3 months from now. So you know what? There's a lot to focus on, and there's a lot to get ready for. But look, before then, you have to have a plan. And yes, it's going to be very interesting to see what that plan is.
Yeah.
But you know what, guys? Like I said, tomorrow, when you're on Twitter trying to figure out who the insiders follow, there's a lot of great ones, but one of the best ones is the lady to my right. As always, guys, we're going to be back Thursday, because we're going to deep dive into it more. We're going to talk about what I think is the best weekend of football of the year, divisional round in the NFL, because you truly get the best. You get the best 8 teams in the league this week. Look, it was pretty ugly. It was pretty meh. But then, you know what? Next weekend, you're truly getting best on best with 2 already fantastic games in the AFC. NFC, we're still waiting to see what happens and who's going to be in that dance party. But anyway, guys, for Sophie, I'm Griff. Let's see what Mike Vrabel's plan is, okay?